going on? Oh no, I've been abducted by the miniature dorkloids, man! What? Oh, look at all this glue and paint rags, and what's this? An umbilical of treachery. Oh god, oh! What? Oh no. Oh no, the miniature dorkloids got Kevin Bacon. He didn't like or subscribe either. What's all this? This place isn't very cool. Oh, there's a miniature dorkloid spacesuit. Look at that little wanker. Can you believe it?
Now I've got you, you treacherous human. You've not liked and subscribed. Now you're going to come with me and we're going to put you in this Munich-style vacuum bed. That'll teach you. Now, let's open this up and we'll slap in some elixir of excellence so that when you join the dork side, yeah, there, eat it. Eat that elixir of excellence. And now we are going to inject Kamiya extra thin cement directly into your brain.
Welcome back to Miniature Dork Universe, episode 50. Today we are going to review some of these 3D printed marvels. These are in 12mm scale, but they also print out in a variety of scales. This is what I have the majority of. I have some 15mm stuff, and I'll post a couple here soon. Yeah, so far I'm very happy with it. Today we'll be looking at 7 different manufacturers that are producing these things. Some are from China, some are from UK. They're all very fabulous, so I hope you stick through this whole thing and watch. So moving left to right, we've got a few from China. First being SS Model, which I got from AliExpress, and Tusk Model, which was also from AliExpress. Kamiya, which is from Hong Kong. I got that on eBay. And then just from the internet, Butler's Printed Models have their own website. Plastic Soldier, we're all familiar with. They've started doing these 3D prints. Scalefiend miniatures and Anschluss miniatures. All of them excellent. Before we get into those though, I'll show you some of these 15mm ones that I've built. This is a Vickers utility tractor from Battlefield 3D. And this gives you a bit of an idea in a different scale. This video is going to focus on 12mm scale or 1/144 scale because that's what I have the most variety to show you. These Marmon Harrington light tanks were from eBay. I think it was somebody from the States though. And the Vickers light tank is also Battlefield 3D. As you can see here, the 3D printers have a variety of vehicles that your traditional manufacturers aren't making. So if you do want to do an unusual or a forgotten campaign, you're now able to get these strange and wonderful little machines. We'll begin with these little buttes, these 2 types of Semavante. These are from SS Model from China. Not to be confused with S Model that makes some really nice 172 quick build kits. We have a Semavante M43-105 and a Semavante M42/75-34. It's more distinctive from the original Semavante with its longer 75mm gun. And then the 105 had a 105mm gun and the entire chassis made wider. And it was a little bit heftier, a bigger casemate, and a bit longer. I think the Germans actually like this one. I'm not too sure if they preferred this to a regular Semavante. And these were used as replacements for shortages of Semavantes in the infantry divisions, perhaps even in the Panzer Grenadier divisions. What I can say about these are they're beautifully made. I guess they're not really cast, are they? They're 3D printed, but there's a lot of detail on them. The only thing that's really missing is the sort of distinctive bolt detail that was pretty common and very characteristic of all the Semavante series assault guns or self-propelled guns. However, in this scale, I'm not sure if that's much of a big deal to me because it's so small that when it's on the table, so far from your face. You'll see certain amounts of detail, but you know, I think that can be forgiven, not having the rivet detail on it. The other thing I would say about this is that you do have some of the, let's see, can I get it closer and have it focus? You do get some of the sort of line pattern that's common with 3D printing. It prints it in sort of levels and layers, and so each line represents, you know, a stage of the printing. Again, though, it's so small. I'll post a picture right here so you can see what it looks like painted up with the line pattern. You can barely notice it, and again, when it's blown up on your computer screen, it looks huge, but again, this is how big we're dealing. And then we're going to put that on a table and have that about 3 or 4 feet away from your face. So, you know, they're going to paint up beautifully. I can tell you that right now. I was very happy with the quality of the prints and the material. Each one was packed in a box like this with its own air cushion in it. So, you know, they were very securely packed for being shipped across the world. And, you know, for sure I'll be using these for other things. SS Model produces a lot of different vehicles, both World War II and modern, in various scales. So you can check that out. They've got everything from, I think, 1/200 all the way up to maybe even 1/35 scale. And I think as the scales go up, you know, I'm thinking a 172 Semovante probably will have the bolt details on it. So that's pretty nice. And they've even put things in, like the German versions had 4 larger teeth on the drive sprocket to prevent the tracks from slipping off, and that's even evident on the 105. The 75 doesn't have them, but still, with the funky, gaudy Italian camouflage of the era and some German markings, these are going to look really, really nice. Next up on our little review of 3D prints, I'm going to show you these by another Chinese company called Tusk Model, and I got these on AliExpress as well. These are Panzer III Aus Ls, and yeah, once again, they're looking pretty good. I would say that the details on this are a little bit more crude. However, everything is there. All of the Pioneer tools and everything. They're just, yeah, a little bit more crude, like the way the hatches are, like sort of simplified. But again, when I saw these, I was very impressed with them. I thought, wow, these are going to look great painted up. And for being 1/144 scale, yeah, they're just bang on. So Tusk Model, so far they're just producing in 1/144 scale, so 12 millimeter. Like SS Model, Tusk Model also produces modern vehicles too. So if you're doing a 12 millimeter or 10 millimeter, you know, North Egg game or something like that, they have a huge variety. Well, not a huge variety, but growing. I would say growing. It seems to be more and more every time I look. But yeah, definitely I'd check them out. I think these were like $3 a piece Canadian. And here's the thing too, it's shipping and handling is a lot cheaper, strangely, coming from China than anywhere else. So these days things are getting kind of expensive, but also it's annoying when, you know, the thing that you want to buy is, you know, under $10 and then the shipping is like almost fucking $25. You know what I mean? It's our final review from an Asian supplier are these from Kamiya models. So it's Kamiya spelt like Tamiya with a K. Here's the box. And as you can see, it came in this wicked box. These I've only been able to find on eBay. These are from Hong Kong, and they are beautiful. The quality of the resin is really nice. There's none of the sort of line scans in it, so it's very crisp and clean. Hopefully that's in in focus. So the thing about these guys, they're a little more expensive. However, they are very nicely printed, and they have like strange or unusual things in this scale, like a field kitchen. I wanted this for my battalion command base for O group. I thought this would look really wicked, and it will look really wicked. And the Kettenkrad, I probably won't use it on that base, but I can definitely use it. The only thing I would say is that the crew is a little small, and this is going to be a bit of a theme in these things that have crews. Here he is. It's very small. Hopefully we can see this and that it's somewhat in focus. But when you put him beside a Victrix 12mm guy, you know, he's a little bit smaller. And definitely like a Pendraken 10mm, they're even beefier and bigger than the 12mm. So yeah, they're a little small. So you can't really use them on the same base without that looking very obvious. But I might use this guy as a combat patrol or something and set him off in a distance. I might pair him up with a motorcycle or something and use him as a, you know, a combat patrol. And that will be really cool, I think. This is the Fiat 508 staff car from Kamiya model. And it's beautiful as well, although there are some issues, unfortunately. And what are those going to be? Well, first off, it's quite big. It looks like, I don't know, I'm not super familiar with this vehicle, but in my mind it's not much bigger than a Kubelwagen. However, this one is quite huge. It looks to be the same size as a white armored car, which, again, I'm not sure if that's accurate. Maybe some of you out there know. If you know, let me know in the comments below if that's looking pretty big. To me, it seems to look big when it's beside the figure, like, you know, the roof is higher than the figure on a base. Like, I don't know, to me, it's looking a bit hefty. But it is toted as a 1144 scale. So that's the first issue I have with just this particular model. But if they have one that's out of scale, it's possible that they might have others. And it's hard to tell when you're looking at it online. I mean, it looks beautiful like it did in the picture, but it's also quite large, as you can see, potentially. Or maybe not. Maybe the Fiat 508 is just a big freaking truck-ass car. I don't know. Someone let me know. But the other issue I have with Kamiya models is all of their soft skins, as nice as they are, they come with the canvas tilt in place. It's not a separate part. So there's a bunch of these like little sprue trees inside that you can't really get at to pick off. And it's going to be very difficult to paint this, or if you want to put a windshield in, yeah, it's not going to be easy. So that's one of the criticisms I would have about this. But otherwise, I mean, as you can see, the details are really crisp and it's really nice. Like, it looks like it would be a really great thing to paint. But I'm thinking it's just too big. Next up for the review, we're going to move over to UK and start with Plastic Soldier Company. So they've gotten into 3D printing, and their range of 3D printed stuff seems to be increasing. And I'd have to say that they do live up to their standard of quality. These things look beautiful. I don't know if we can keep that in focus, but if you see, I mean, all of the detail is in there, and there are no lines on this resin, so it's quite beautiful. They come on these big sprues, kind of like these infantry here. I'll get into these after. I'm sort of more with vehicles now, but yeah, they did have to be broken away from those sort of sprue-like things. But once that was done, you know, and here is a SDKFZ-10 with an anti-aircraft flak. I think that was a flak 38. But once again, very nice model, very well detailed. Here he is beside Butler's printed model, so they scale out pretty close. but you can see the level of detail on the PSC is a little higher. I'm going to pimp this up though with a bunch of photo etch tools and things like that I bought because I'm a total nerd. So just like with the Kamiya model though, I would say that the driver and gun crew are quite a bit smaller than, say, this Victrix 12mm guy. We'll take the flat gun off for a second and put them together. It's kind of hard to see them in this, but yeah, the Victrix figure looks to be quite a bit bigger than the figure manning the flak gun. So I'm thinking, you know, there's a discrepancy between the size of, you know, figures on bases and then drivers. So these guys are probably closer to the 1/144 or 12mm scale, and these guys might just be a little large. And it's hard to maybe scale them up the same size and fit them in the vehicles and have them look proper. I don't know. It is a bit annoying to me though. If you've seen my videos, you know how I feel about scale and things. I don't know why they don't just, you know what I mean, a 1/44 scale, just get out your bloody calculator, find your decimal, get your measurements. I don't know. Maybe it's harder than what I think, but like I used to make prosthetics, right? And I couldn't just make one guy's, if he was a bilateral, like transtibial, I couldn't have one leg longer than the other and just be like, oh, you don't know, it's hard, it's a lot of work. You know, like, I don't know. Now I'm starting to rant. But since we're on figure size, we'll look at some of the PSC 12mm Americans that I bought to go with my Americans. And they too are a bit bigger than these Victrix guys. I'd say that the body proportions are fairly close, but the heads are probably, you know, at least almost twice as big. So you won't be basing these guys together. And once again, it's, you know, it's a little disappointing. They're different companies, but it would be lovely if these guys just scaled it out exact to something, you know, just found that perfect scale that the figures and the vehicles, crews and things could all be the same size. But that being said, just like the vehicles, these are beautifully cast. You know, there's more detail on the PSC than on the Victrix for sure. So they definitely gained points for that. And when all's said and done, when they're painted and based up looking nice, you know, they're going to be fine. It's just a shame that you can't kind of mix and match them with the other guys without it being obvious that these are quite a bit bigger. But yeah, Plastic Soldier Company definitely gets a thumbs up. I'd say so far up to this point, the quality of cast, Kamiya and Plastic Soldier Company are on the top end of that. On the price scale, I would say that the Tusk models are the winner if you're trying to go on a budget. The last thing I would mention about Plastic Soldier Company is that they're producing these printed models in 10mm, 12mm, 15mm, and 20mm. So it's very likely that you'll be able to get all of these vehicles in those scales at some point. It's taking them a while, I think, to get them all throughout the scales, but it's very likely that they will be available at some point if they aren't already. And here's a SDKFZ 250 Neue beside a SDKFZ 250 Alta. So this one is from Pit Road and it's a plastic model. So as you can see, they're scaling out pretty nice. This guy might be a little bit wider than that guy. Maybe not. They have different sort of chassis, so they're about the same length. Let's see, how do they... Yeah, they're about the same width too. This guy's just got a boxier, newer chassis that they simplified for ease of production. But yeah, so check out PSC if you haven't already. They got some great stuff. Now we're going to look at Butler's printed models. I've gotten a lot of things from Butler's printed models, and they have a very consistent quality and detail. that I like. We'll start with this. Hopefully it's in focus. This is a Pack 36R, and as you can see, it's very beautifully detailed. Can't really go wrong with that. I've got these in anticipation for Victrix to release those Africa core that are on their Facebook page. I'm going to also field my US and North Africa and have German, opponents as well. And to tow it, I got this Lorraine 38L Schlepper. So it's a captured French vehicle that the Germans used. I think these were used by the 21st Panzer Division in Tunisia. I think they towed a Pack 40, but I like the Pack 36, just for something a little different and unusual. And they're going to look pretty good together. What I would say about Butlers is you get a choice with them to get sort of a basic print or a high-res print. And these are the high-res. I think the guns only come in high-res prints, but vehicles you have to select if you want the high-res. So all the pictures on the website show the standard resolution, but I almost wish that they would also have a picture of the high-res printouts, because there's a significant difference, So, yeah, but the high-res look great. And in terms of scale, they scale out nicely to everyone else. Here's the awesome Victrix Pack 40 beside the Pack 36R, so they're scaling out quite nicely together. I've pimped up the Pack 40 a bit to make it look a little bit more crazy. Yeah, no complaints here. I've gotten a lot of things from Butler's printed models and been very happy. And yeah, the high-res printouts always look nice when I get them. What else can I say about Butler? He's also doing a bunch of scales. Here, we'll put another Butler. Here's another Butler's printed model, Martyr 2, which is quite awesome. The crew inside are from Arrowhead, and they're quite lovely as well. They're just sort of floating around there loosely for now. The other thing I would say about Butler is he's printing his models all the way from 6mm all the way up to 1/48 scale. But I think the majority of vehicles are probably in the 15mm to 20mm range. And then there might be maybe less 28mm and less 1/48. I don't know for sure. You'd have to check out their website. But for 12mm, they've got you covered for sure. Next up from the UK, we've got things from Anschluss. Anschluss just produces stuff in 12mm, and their 3D prints are also lovely with a lot of detail, especially for 12mm. The 37mm gun on this M15 has a couple little like air holes in it or something, but I'm just going to replace that with a piece of syringe, and that's going to look lovely. And I'm going to have to figure out how to crew it out, but I will somehow, some way. And this is the M3 armored car. Again, it looks really good. There's some of the lines from the printing, but again, they'll be very minimal. They won't be noticeable in this scale. And I'm also very happy with the detail and quality of these as well. The 50 cal looks a little bit chunky maybe, but definitely not a deal breaker. My Shermans that I painted, these guys over here, they're from Anschluss, these Italian theater Shermans, so you can see how they look yourself, all painted up. But yeah, I have no issues or anything bad to say about Anschluss. Thank you, Anschluss. But these guys are just 12mm. Or, you can get away if you've got 10mm, we'll just say 1/144 scale. There and abouts. And last on our list of 3D printed fun and games is Scalefiend. So Scalefiend produces stuff from 1/144 scale to 1/7/2 scale. So they got the Braille scales covered, and it's all World War II though, I think. I guess I should have mentioned that with the other ones. I'm pretty sure Butler's has all eras, like modern, World War II, maybe even World War I. PSC, I'm not sure. I know they have their 10mm Northag stuff, but I didn't see anything up there. But I didn't look. I'm mostly a World War II guy, but yeah, I can't say for sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that Scalefiend is just dealing with World War II. And like all of the other examples I've shown you, the Scalefiend models are printed quite nicely. They're all in white, so unfortunately these may not show up too well in this particular lighting. But yeah, looking at them from where I'm sitting, like the level of detail is comparable to all of his 3D printed peers that I just showed you. This is a straight up M4 Sherman that I got for more of my Italian theater Americans. And this is how he stacks up scale-wise to the Anschluss guy. So you can see they're, bang on. So they're going to be right beside each other, really, which is great. And they do guns. You can see this is the M1 57mm anti-tank gun. And it's very, very well detailed. However, this is their IG-18, and as you can see, I would classify that as being ridiculously small. Here's the Butler's printed model version. Yeah, so yeah, you got to watch out because you can't really tell in the pictures. You can't scale them in relation to others, but this is definitely, the airsoft version or something. But, when you put it beside a figure, the IG-18 is a small infantry gun anyway, but I mean, here, that's probably too far away to make any sort of comparison, but that's the gun beside a figure. It's, I would say that's a little bit on the too small side. Otherwise, though, it's beautiful. There's a lot of detail on it. It's just way too bloody small. But overall, I've gotten quite a few things from these guys, and I would say that, yeah, I've been pretty, with the exception of that gun, everything's been great that I've gotten from them. Looking forward to painting them, and yeah, this is the M3A1 Stuart. I'm going to paint those up for North Africa, the US Army, in Tunisia. And here's how he scales up beside a Victrix M5 Stuart. So again, the scale, I really appreciate when you can use the vehicles together and there's not noticeable size differences. Not that the M3A1 and M5 will probably be used together, but it's just nice to know that they're similar in scale. And something I will say, this Victrix model looks very nice when it's done. But I'm a fairly seasoned modeler, and I would say that this guy was a pain in the ass to build for me. So if you're like the token wargamer guy that just wants to get these and paint them immediately and get them on the table as quickly as possible, I would not fucking go with this because you are definitely going to say a lot of bad words and drink a lot of things and maybe not even win. And at Miniature Dork Universe, we just want you guys to win. So yeah, if you're not advanced modeler, willing to deal with some crazy shit and fit, well, take this guy out of the picture and get a nice, all of these manufacturers I've reviewed today, they all have their own version of the M5 Stuart. So if you need it and you want her fast and on the table, I would go with that route, definitely. The only thing I would say about Scalefiend that's a bit different is the way the hulls are hollow at the bottom. and the gun just sort of fits in, which is not a big deal, but I like to magnify my turrets, so I'm going to have to build a little floor to put the magnet on, but you know, that's really not a big deal for me. So definitely not a deal breaker. I really like these models. So that's going to do it. That is my review of these 3D models. So that's going to complete my review of some various 3D printed model manufacturers. Another thing you can do if you have your own 3D printer is buy the STL files online. And I think there's quite a few people selling the STL files. I don't know anything about that. I think, you know, I've got enough on my plate. I don't want to start 3D printing. It's easier for me just to get someone that knows what they're doing to print it out and then just get the benefit of painting it and enjoying it. But that's all we have for you today. So thank you for tuning in. And I hope these reviews helped you. If you were considering 3D prints, I would say there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They look great. So far, the ones that I've painted have kept their paint job intact, like the paint goes on nicely, just like with any other resin model. So far, what I've painted up has turned out really nice, so the paint adheres well to whatever resin they're using. And you know, in this scale, even when the details are a little bit simplified, they still look great. I mean, you put that on a table, you definitely aren't confused what it is. Oh, Jesus, I wonder if that's an M4A1. Like, no, it's quite obvious, and the details look great. So, yeah, if you're considering 3D printing, I would not have any worries about things like detail or, you know, if the paint sticks. I do wash my models though, so yeah, that might help it out. And the other thing someone brought up in a forum that I was reading that kind of scared me is how well this stuff will hold up over time. And yeah, maybe it'll get brittle and crack or fall apart or start bleeding some weird chemicals. But that remains to be seen. I guess only time will tell. But at this point in the juncture, I would say I'm pretty happy with 3D prints. So that's all I have for you today. Stay tuned because you know Miniature Dork Universe is going to be back with more aliens threatening your life. So we'll see you next time.